Hello Africa, how are you doing? I hope you're doing great, mama.
Greetings, people. It's nice to be on this show. This is Afroscope, the maiden edition of the Afroscope Talk Show for 2026. I am Harry Agena, and we are at the poolside of Top View Hotel, one of the best and most affordable hotels in the center of the capital city of Nigeria, and that's called Abuja. You need to check them out whenever you are in Abuja. You got it? Okay. And before we move on, let's define Afroscope very briefly. Afroscope is, like this name says, scope. It's a scope beaming on Africa and projecting Africa to the rest of the world. And of course, also share to Africans. Okay? And when we talk about Africa and Africans, we mean Africans in Africa as well as Africans in the diaspora. Diaspora Africa, for instance, we have African Americans. We have our brothers and sisters in the Caribbean. So that's what Afroscope is all about, covering the whole of the African people around the world. And okay, so let's get to the topic of the day. The topic of the day, and this is our maiden edition. And because it's the maiden edition, we need to give you a general view. We lay the foundation, in other words, of what this program is all about. Okay? I don't want to go too far without bringing in the people here that we're working with. Okay? My name, like I said, is Harry Agena. Okay? And yes, I'm one of the icons because everybody, we're having a discussion here actually. Okay? I will let everybody introduce themselves because it's better that way instead of I know their names. No, don't think I don't know their names. But Asma, would you introduce yourself?
I'm Asma Suleiman. It's very nice to be here and contribute to our cultural knowledge.
Okay, and to my right.
Wow, it's a great opportunity to be here. My name is Ugochukwu Kechinyere, known as Evangelist Gifted Gold. I'm a minister, a gospel minister in words and in music, and I'm supporting culture because nothing will take me off from my culture.
Good. And
thank you very much. Omorui J-Law Omorui. I'm an urban contemporary gospel artist and a lawyer by training. And, I believe that culture is who we are, and so there's really nothing you can do to change that. We have to project it, promote it, preserve it, and protect it. That's why we are here.
Yeah.
good. So back to me, right? Now, let me take it up again from the point that, therefore, all peoples of the world, by the way, must also encourage their culture. That's part of what Afroscope Project believes, that there should be no culture that should be better than the other. Every single culture in the world is equal to the next one. That's number one. That's how God created us. Okay? So, if we can learn that, if it's possible to learn that, there will be less tribal problems in Africa, for instance, okay? Or even in the US or Europe or the rest of the world, there will be no problems of racism, because we should all appreciate our races and the other people's races and tribes. So now let's talk about culture. Define culture. Culture, basically, if you want to define culture, the elementary definition of culture actually is the totality of the ways of life of any group of people. What makes them who they are and what they are, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so for instance, if you now expatiate it a little bit more, okay, we now talk about the fact that there are some cultural elements that you see. For instance, the clothes, you see, I'm wearing something that looks African, okay? Since close to African, everything we wear here will be, and because this is also the world, 21st century world, we don't necessarily have to all dress like Africa all the time, Africans. So, but the point is that we have to make sure that everybody knows that culture, there is no group of people in this world without culture.
Yeah.
That's number one lesson. For some people who think that, oh, African culture is not good, it's not true. Everybody's culture. Imagine, for instance, imagine what would happen if everybody in this world was to be like Chinese, or like Africans, or like Americans. The world would be boring.
Very boring.
Yeah,
Very
okay? Good. So, the point, therefore, is that we must understand cultural diversity. Okay? And that's part of what Afroscope will be dealing with. To say that it's good to have, like in Nigeria, for instance, we are operating out of Nigeria right now. We need to know the Hausa man, the Yoruba man, the Ibibio man, and all the other tribes of Nigeria. We need to love each other. That's the point. That's the second point there. Welcome back. That was another definition of culture, courtesy USA diplomatic mission. So let's move on. We need to understand the fact that the world evolves, culture evolves. People cannot keep what used to happen in the ancient world today. Okay? And it's not just about Africa, by the way. It's about the whole world. Every culture of the world, they are not stagnant. They move from time to time. This is 21st century. That's why the topic of this one is to say practicing African traditional ways of life in 21st century world. In other words, making sure that we understand the fact that things cannot remain the same as they used to happen in the 4th century, for instance. And if you take the theme means, we say, balancing African cultural customs and traditions in an evolving world, bearing in mind that change is a constant factor. Now, I want to get to the issue of, again, now, we need to know, this, like I said, this is introductory program, the premier edition of this talk show that will be a weekly show. Now, we are not going to be covering anything in depth today. What we will do today is lay the foundation, mention a few things that we will now be discussing in depth because each edition, subsequent edition from today, will take just one topic and deal with it, seriously in depth. Okay?
Yeah.
But for today, for instance, if I was to ask, let's start from my left here, from Asma, okay? If I was to ask you to give, because we need to, the point is that we know, we are talking about the fact that there are some traditions in Africa that we must promote because they are great. Then there are some that we must discourage because they are no longer good. Okay? And then there are some that are okay but have some flaws, which means we must do some modification. So it's about condemning bad ones completely and modifying ones that are not bad but have some flaws and promoting ones that are good. Let's talk about something that you think that should be either eliminated or modified. Peripherally, not, you don't have to go into details. Just let's give examples.
If there's anything that I would like our culture to ensure that it keeps through the people is language speaking.
Okay.
For instance, I know a few families that their children go to school, and just because they speak English in school, they have discouraged the children from actually speaking their traditional language at home. And so for that reason, they do not understand their traditional language. I know a few families like that. They do not understand their traditional language, and these are the growing children, the future generation. So what happens? The language might actually die if it continues that way.
That's a good point there. That's number one good point to talk about. The fact that we must remember the three P's. We must promote our languages
yes.
and
Yes.
preserve them.
Yes.
Okay? Because what is going on now in Africa and Nigeria, as example, actually, they are trying to kind of kill some of our languages, giving laws, for instance, bringing the education system of Nigeria recently
Yes, yes.
wanted to ban.
Yes, there was a time that even language speaking was learning of languages as a subject was trying to be banned from the secondary schools.
Yes, they
Yeah,
even last
I
year.
don't
Even,
know. I
even
don't know
to-
why
even
that
towards
should
the end of
happen.
last year.
Yes.
Even I think November, the Ministry of Education
Yes.
wanted to ban.
Ban.
I think some people kicked against it,
Yes.
and then he kind of pulled back.
Yes.
So these are the things we were talking about because English is
We
not our
get
language.
ahead of ourselves just because of just because we're getting modern. So we get ahead of ourselves and try to even condemn what belongs to us originally, like our language.
As our languages.
We should not lose our
And
language.
languages are one of the fundamental elements of Africa that must be promoted.
Yes.
Okay. If you, for instance, French countries, they want to speak French.
Yes.
Okay. They don't even leaders. They want to make talk. They speak in French.
They speak
Their
in
language.
French, yes.
They don't copy English
Oh,
like Africans are doing.
Yes.
It's wrong.
like China, India, they have they study in their languages and they write in their languages,
I said, okay, like
and
we
it
said,
does not stop them from learning English
of course,
and speaking it.
in order to
Yes.
communicate with the rest of the world.
Yes.
But we cannot allow our own languages to die.
No, we can't.
That's the point. Okay, so let's get to goals. Gifted gold.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
What, for instance, what would you like to be removed from our traditions? The ones that are totally bad, or we can even talk about some that are already removed from our traditions.
Okay.
Or what you may want to continue but modified.
Alright.
I let you pick your own.
Okay, I come in this way. Let's look at the tradition and tribalism. And in marriages, relationship, we should understand that there is more to gain when we mix up relationship from other traditions, other people's religion, other people's culture. Because what you learn, what you have, I don't have it, you don't have it. I don't have it, sorry. But what I have, you don't have it. So what Nigeria have, let me come into Nigeria. What Yoruba man have, Igbo man doesn't. What Igbo man does, Hausa man doesn't. So if we are to look at it, there are things that development or technology can't wipe away from our tradition. So we look at seeing ourselves as we are one, and one can find love anywhere. It doesn't matter the language you speak, it doesn't matter the tradition. But when you look at these things, marriage from other tribe is always a conflict. No, I'm not from Yoruba, I'm not from Igbo, I'm not from Hausa. It shouldn't be that. If we say we are speaking from Nigeria, so we ought to use Nigeria. If we say we are one Nigeria as per se, we should always know that one Nigeria means one family.
Exactly.
So if you are looking at one family and we are one Nigeria, so what stops us from interchanging?
Beauty in diversity.
Exactly. Why the fight? Why the closeness? So we really need to look into this and see how we can do away with this belief of it's my language, it's not my language. No, we have to put in one, as we say, one Nigeria, let it be one.
Exactly.
And love can be found anywhere, irrespective of the language.
Taking it further from Nigeria, away from Nigeria, let's be one Africa also.
One
let's
Africa,
let's
yes.
believe,
That's
let's
right.
exchange ideas from one country to another instead of being creating enmity between us.
God bless you.
Yeah, that's the point.
Yeah.
Okay, Taylor,
You're right.
what have you get into this?
This is a very interesting topic, I must say. But I will start by saying that the future of any society It's going to be dependent on, number one, a society that believes in its roots,
Yeah.
where you're from, what you're about, your culture, your tradition, your faith, your religion. That's where it starts from. And then you must be, the society, number two, must be able to embrace diversity. Embrace diversity, and then you must be able to adopt without losing your identity. Why am I saying this? I want to talk about the projection of the patriarchy in Africa. Projection of the patriarchy in Africa. They believe that men are superior to women.
Okay.
I think it's
about gender equality. That's the next thing. Because, as like I said, this is an opening, so we'll cover everything.
Absolutely.
But without going deep, until we pick them one by one in the subsequent editions.
Yes,
Good.
Absolutely. So it's something that I feel like we need to look at the Western world and learn from them, and see how women are independent. They are doing so well. They are thriving. They are surviving. We have, in a way, raise our women to be dependent on men. And that is why you see a lot of abuse, domestic abuse, emotional abuse, psychological abuse. So let's see how we can readjust and adopt to what is good in Africa. That's what I just...
The area you want to bring in. Okay, let me give an example to what you just said. All right. In Nigeria, okay, the gender equality and female liberation has not caught up like some countries in Africa, other countries in
Absolutely.
Africa. Did you know that Nigerian Parliament, out of 469 combination of the Senate and the House of Reps, out of 469 members of Nigerian Parliament, there are only 16. Is it 18 or 16? Only 16 or 18 women.
Yeah.
You can see to that.
That is disgraceful for a country that says we are the giant of Africa.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, on the contrary, okay, there are two countries in Africa today that there are more women in the parliament than men. You see?
Yes.
Nigeria, that should be setting the pace.
Example.
Okay, is the one up till today. They are still arguing at the National Assembly how to give women more seats, and they're having a problem with that. They're not even facing it seriously. So gender equality, and it does not mean that just a few more seconds before I get away from the gender equality. Gender equality does not mean that, or gender balance in issues, whether at home or in the society, it does not mean that there are certain things that God kind of created men for it to be their nature, okay, and created women that is their nature. For instance, the challenge I always give men when we have this kind of debate where they want to say, okay, I'm the man. Can you bear a child? Can you be pregnant and have a child?
Without a woman.
Okay, without a woman. Okay, and now all you do is when you couple in order to make a baby, you can only contribute the sperm that makes it happen. There are certain things that women cannot do, and there are certain things that men cannot do. That's the point I want to round up with.
Okay.
A typical American or a typical Brit would not be there and watch a woman carrying heavy load, because he is the man. God made him strong, powerful. That's the point.
Beautiful continent and beautiful people.
Some people in Africa, they are masquerade, they demonize it, they think it's demonic. To have, especially Pentecostal Christianity.
I think to help the audience, you maybe start with a definition of what a masquerade is.
Yes, exactly.
It's going to help them understand what...
Okay, good. That's the point.
Yes.
The point is that a masquerade simply is pretending to be something that you are not, with a garment that disguises you.
That's all.
Now, let me make a good comparison that when people really pay attention to, it will make a difference. For instance, you Christian out there, did you know that Santa Claus, and I'm bringing this up because Africans have this thing about trying to copy other people's traditions, okay, and not proud of our own traditions, but proud of American traditions or European traditions. See, Santa Claus originated in Turkey in the 1st century, okay, as a means of kind of being generous. But during Christmas time, they will throw down like money or something else to poor families or something from the chimney. If you know the history of Santa Claus, it's related to chimneys. Okay, they will throw down something to help poor people. but they are commented in something specifically known as Santa Claus or Father Christmas. Okay? Now, it became so funny to me last December when I saw somebody, a state that outlawed masquerades, traditional Nigerian masquerades, but they glorify the Santa Claus. And the reason, here's the reason, and I'll give you guys grounds to talk. The reason that this governor gave was that the masquerades were some, because it's not all. They are wonderful. There is no place you will go without having good and bad.
Yeah.
Everything. So the governor was angry that some masquerades did something wrong to the people. They became a nuisance. So he banned masquerades outrightly. Okay? This is the funny thing about that. That same Christmas, past Christmas, he was glorifying Santa Claus. Now, you're forgetting something he doesn't know. In the US and UK or Europe, where Santa Claus is popular, if this governor of Nigeria, if he was to know how many criminals who dressed like Santa Claus to commit atrocities, but nobody banned Santa Claus in the US or in the UK.
Yeah.
It happens almost every Christmas. You will see criminals who wear Santa Claus masquerade to rob people or to commit atrocities. But nobody bans Santa Claus. So the point is, you don't throw away bath
Baby.
water with the baby.
With the baby.
Okay? You correct it because, for example, and then I'll let because please be ready because I need everybody to say something about it. Tell me how bad I am. Okay? Because, for instance, let's use something away from culture or something.
Yeah.
Are you going to ban aeroplane because aeroplanes have accidents?
No.
People die?
No.
Are we going to ban aeroplanes?
No.
So the point is, you correct errors in anything in the world,
Yes.
and still keep the object because it's necessary. Okay, so all right, who wants to say something about that, about masquerade or anything else that we are misusing?
Okay. Can I come up?
Of course.
Still your wonderful gifted gold. Okay, about the Santa Claus and well, can we put it this way that these things are part of entertainment?
Yeah.
You understand? But done in a different way. You understand? Because it's under entertainment. You understand? So we look at, I'll still have to come back to my country, Nigeria. The way we judge things, we don't handle it rightly. It's a system that truths are covered with lies. You understand? When a child, maybe in the midst of 10 people, 10 children, and a particular child happens to go out there to do something wrong, will you use it to condemn the whole family? That the family is all of that. If that means Nigeria, that we may have done something out there, should be generalized that is who we all are.
Exactly.
So, in this way, we need to, if the governor of Akwa Ibom should look at it, there are people that are enjoying that masquerade.
Yep.
You understand? Another thing we should look at the motive of the masquerade, and there is no way that hoodlums will not come in.
Into something.
There is no way it can be. No matter how strict, no matter the security conscious, there must be an armed robber.
Exactly.
So the truth there is that you treat it according to the offender.
That's it.
The one that have committed the crime. Thank God we have a barrister in our midst. I throw back to you as barristers. If you want to make unto law, you make law. If law was made or is made against a defaulter,
Yeah, not the whole
not
community.
the whole community, not the whole nation, not the whole of this. So if you are correcting, go direct and make corrections, not banding it, because there are people that do return back. Like in my place where I come from, I'm from Imo State, Umuike Law precisely. That's what we do as every year by November and by December. You cannot just come and say you are going to wipe it off. It's not
Just because
possible.
somebody made an error.
Yes, we call it age grade. We dress, we disguise ourselves. We dress. Women does that, men does that, and we still on. People travel from far and near to come for this occasion. So you cannot say maybe somebody happened to fall that day that thing was done, or the date of the something celebration. Maybe the person was not feeling fine. That doesn't mean Oga Barrister, I bet you help me in this. That doesn't mean that age grade celebration should be marked
as devilish or
aborted.
bad.
No!
Yes,
It is a person that did it, not persons.
exactly. Not
So
the
it
whole-
should be treated according, and that is the reason why we're having problems in Nigeria. We don't treat according to the defaulter. We go by as we want it. That is, we know. Let me not say that we are lawless country, but God will help us to be able to abide to our rules and regulations in this country, from the head to the toe.
Yes. Okay, good.
So that's
good. CJ, because one thing I wanted to bring up also to conclude this particular topic, but of course, we still can say something if you want to. But I want to still remind Africans, especially some Christians who believe that masquerading is devilish, okay, or having masquerades. I repeat, there is no country in this world or no culture in this world that doesn't have masquerade. Look at China, for instance. China, their masquerades are like 1,000 feet long. Okay, they look like, some of them will look like dragons, some will look like snakes and all that.
That's what we look at, the motive.
And UK, where some of the Christianity came from, the white man, in other words, okay, who brought Christianity to Africa. Every country in Europe has masquerades. Okay, I know, for instance, in the US, I have to, some seasons of the year, I have to travel from Texas. I drive from Texas to New Orleans, because New Orleans in the US is one of the places you find all kinds of varieties of masquerades. Okay, so Americans have masquerades, for crying out loud. I'm saying this for Nigerians who want to be more American than Americans, or who want to be more Catholic than popes, and they are trying to destroy our culture based on Christianity. Christ himself, by the way, please, can we remember the fact that Christ did not in any way condemn the Jewish culture. Remember the first miracle of Christ, where he made water, turned it into wine for people to enjoy, was in a cultural wedding,
yeah,
or
traditional
cultural
wedding.
marriage. Okay, so is it possible that Christ, because Christianity is based on Christ, so people need to know these things to understand that you can't really be claiming that Christianity doesn't want this, Christianity doesn't want that. Christ did not tell you that. That's the point I want to make. Now, do you want to say anything? It doesn't have to be about Christianity.
It can be about Christianity.
Good. So, all right.
Yeah, because Muslims are also involved in Christianity, because we are living in a place where we live together, and we interact. And in all honesty, this might be like a funny little story, but it's also about Santa Claus. There was a period some time back, but it started only recently, but it still happens. During Christmas or just before Christmas, people with shops that have gift items or flashy things that attract children that have to do with Christmas would like to sell more. So what they do is they employ people that just sit around doing nothing and ask them to sell these products on the streets because it will go faster. So well, in that view, anybody will come up. Even if I was jobless, I would go up there and I would get this job. And what they had to wear was to dress like Santa Claus. Okay, now these boys, some of them were Muslims. Who would ever know? You know, they're all dressed up like Santa Claus, selling their products and items, yes, on the street.
Because the purpose was to sell something
and
under the guise of Santa.
Thank you, and make some money for themselves.
That's it.
And nobody would know this until it's time for prayer. When they call prayer, you see Santa Claus is praying at the side of the road.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, and so you see everybody is involved, and masquerades are ways of marking celebrations, and they're not
entertaining.
Form of entertainment.
Yes, they could be in any form. They could be our own traditional. I could
And
decide to just evolve one new kind of masquerade right now, and then, and if it works, it goes on.
All right. Okay, good.
So and I'm an African, and then I'll call it an African masquerade too. So
Good. See, because remember, folks, remember what we are doing here is laying foundation for the topics that we will now delve into deeply in subsequent editions, Today we are just laying foundation to bring out certain things that this talk show by the Afro School Project will be doing subsequently. The Africans ourselves and also non-Africans to understand that culture evolves, changes. What was happening in the US in the 20th century, let me say 20th century, or what was happening in the Western world generally, are not exactly what are happening today. Things change as the world evolves. Things change, and that's what we're talking about in terms of making sure that Africa is also dynamic, that African people don't stick to the old traditions. That's why we're talking about when we have in the purposes of Afro School, we talk about the fact that we do want to promote the good traditions of Africa as well as condemn the bad traditions of Africa. So, for instance, I said this in order to get into the question, the issue of what are certain things in Africa that should be condemned. Let me start with an example, and then everybody else will contribute. For instance, Africans knew enough years ago to abolish killing of twins. You know, in Africa, there used to be something. Africans in the past believed that twins were demons. Any woman who had twins, they would immediately kill the twins. I think they even used to kill the mama and the twins as abomination until it was kind of refined to just killing the twins. Until now, like a complete reversal, now that we have stopped killing twins, today, twins are celebrated, or triplets even. Or when you see people, a woman having 4 children at a time, it's now celebrated. It didn't happen in the past. So that is one of the traditions or customs of Africa that, yes, we understood that they had to go. So we stopped it. But let me also say, balance it by saying that also there were certain things happening in the US and the UK or China or India and every part of the world that are being changed today because they no longer fit into 21st century world. Okay, the problem we are what Afroscope is trying to promote is to kind of quicken the pace of Africans realizing that we should drop certain things that are bad.
Okay. Well, I'm not going to talk much because it's something that is staring at us: tribalism and ethnic bias. Tribalism, if you look at across Africa, it's a major problem. That is in Ghana, Nigeria, Ethiopia, everywhere. You know, I think it's something that we need to look at and see how we begin to get people. You talked about the 2023 elections and all campaigns and all that, where we all knew who the most competent candidate was, a person from a particular contraption. But because it's not from your place, you know he's competent, he has a capacity, he has a mental sagacity.
Not from your tribe.
Because not from your tribe, you will not vote for him. So it's something that the African society needs to look at. Tribalism, ethnic jingoism. It has messed Africa up.
You're now bringing a tribal, social, political perspective into it.
Absolutely.
Okay, if I want to coin a word, I would say tribal, social, political.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay?
Absolutely.
Which is true.
Yeah.
Because that's why, for instance, the truth of the matter is that honestly, that particular thing is bad in Nigeria, especially.
Yeah.
Okay, that's why we have incompetent people ruling Nigeria.
Yes.
Okay, because the tribes don't want to vote for people who are not from their tribes.
Absolutely.
Okay? These are some of the things that we will be talking about how to change them. okay, you have something to say about that the issue of, let's say, forced marriage.
Okay, still back.
Mm-hmm.
I look at it that then this forced marriage, if you notice, there is not much divorce this recently now because of technology, because of eye opening. Because technology have really brought an eye opening to some families to understand what life is, because you have your life to live and the child you bear have their lives to live. You only hold them when they are in your womb as a mother and as parents. But when there is a certain age that a child comes up with, I want to ask a question to parents. When you say you want to put an ultimatum to a child, I ask you this question: when you send your child to the university, do you go with the child to the university?
No.
The child is alone there. And what it means, I want to also make this point. University is not just for you to go and learn how to read and write. It's for you to know how to do what? To be independent of yourself, self-independent, and how you want your future to become. So forcing a child to have a particular spouse is not okay at all, because most of them it favors, most it doesn't favor. And this has really brought then so much what? Divorce. Because they said, after all, I'm not the one that married you, it's my parents. I just married you because of my parents. It's not my parents' choice. You can imagine someone that is in abroad. The parents are trying to put down a girl for him to marry. Have you asked your child, what's your choice of a woman? Or your daughter, what's your choice of a man? Because the man that married you as a mother has a choice, and that was why he saw you and married you. And you as a mother accepted him because you have a choice of the kind of man you want to be with. This is a life thing. You're not going to live with the man or the woman. So I thank God for Afroscope, because we are trying to balance up tradition and technology to have a balance in Africa.
That's good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Now, the issue is, okay, again, let me bring comparison, because what Afroscope consistently does is to bring comparison between Africa and or Africans, because remember, when we talk about Africa, we mean Africans everywhere in the diaspora and on the continent of Africa. Now, what we're talking about, marriage, forced marriage, parents forcing their children who to marry. Now, you don't find, from long ago, you don't find things like that in Europe, okay, or in the US. As a matter of fact, because I grew up in the US, so I can tell you for sure that some parents get to know about their children's marriage after the marriage. They say, "Hey, mommy, I just got married." They say, "Oh, my brother," and everybody's rejoicing. Nobody said, "You didn't tell me about it. How come I didn't choose your husband for you or your wife for you?" No, the person chose the husband or the wife that he or she can live with, that he or she can, love, not to please the parents, because chances are tomorrow when the eyes open, the wife or the man will say, "Look, like Gifted said, I didn't marry you. It's my father that married you, or my mother married you. Right? Go back to them. I don't love you." They will now start cheating because the person that they love is there somewhere. Okay, either the man or the woman, the person that the woman or the man loves is somewhere. But the mama said, "No, you must marry this person." It becomes a problem. You have something to contribute to that, or do we go to the next room?
No, just that we can't say that this is no longer in existence. It happens it still happens, and it happens in different modes, even in a mode where you think it's not a forced marriage, by the parents constantly talking to that child and convincing them not to be rude to them and accept that marriage until it happens.
Good.
So it still happens in a way that in the end, when the couple get married, they are kind of convinced that they agreed to marry themselves. But they were actually chosen by their parents to get
Exactly.
married. So it could not look like a forced marriage, but it still
ends up being forced marriage. Yeah, because, okay, in fact, you are talking about something that I saw that happened, okay, in Nigeria. Is It's emotional blackmail, in other words. Actually, I saw a mother who said, if you don't marry this man, yes, if you don't marry this man, I will die for you. I will commit suicide. You know, in other words, she knows enough now to know that.
That's an act.
And she's not
Yeah, she was acting.
That's an act intimidating the child.
Emotional blackmail, like I called it. Yes.
It's an act. Parents, let's do away with all those things, because
Exactly.
if you were blackmailed during your period, you wouldn't have been in that family. Exactly.
There's someone that I know. This person is a minister of the gospel. Is a minister of the gospel. I know this person personally. I've known this person now for a while. You know, so every now and then I just go to visit the person. Each time I go, like, see your sister now, Mariam now. And sincerely, very fine lady, but I am not attracted to her.
Did you see that?
But every time I go there, gee,
You're trying to convince
see
you.
now, Mariam now. Mariam. And if I didn't know, you know, like if I didn't have a mental picture of the kind of person that I want to be with, I will go in there and then in future like
kind of emotional blackmail.
I will like,
oh,
start having issues. I'll tell you that, sir.
You know,
You know,
his choice.
I am telling you, anytime I go, like, see your sister.
That's a fact. So, and again, comparison again, it wouldn't happen like that in the Western world.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, by the way, let me make correct an impression. I always use the phrase that there is nothing like absolute in anything.
Yeah.
Because everything we are talking about here, they happen in the Western world too, but very minimal. Very minimal. What we're talking about, maybe, for instance, if forced marriage were to happen in the US, if it happens 1% in the US, it happens 99% in Nigeria. That's what we're talking about here. Okay, it's not that because everywhere you go, there are still good and bad in every. So there are still people who are doing it wrongly. Okay, so yes, we need to also pay attention to that.
Balance.
And that's why I always want to bring up this issue of let nobody think that what we are talking about Africa means that African people, African traditions are so horrible. No, because there are so many bad things. Also, for instance, Africa didn't start slavery. Okay? Africa didn't start slavery, and Africa happened when certain things were also happening. Slavery happened when certain things were also happening in Africa. So it goes all the way. What we're looking at is how do we influence our own culture, our own Africa, to be speedy, to speed up our evolutionary process, to change things. For instance, this forced marriage, let's quickly stop it, okay, than before, okay? So, well, I think I'm getting signs from my, okay, I still have 10 minutes. Okay, good, all right, okay, so let's use these 10 minutes remaining to look more about some other traditions, okay, because we're trying to, and viewers there, remember, we keep saying that what we are doing here is to lay foundation for this talk show, how it will be, what we will be addressing in subsequent editions. Okay, so we don't get deep into any particular tradition or any particular element of our culture. We just, addressing them peripherally. For instance, one edition, in subsequent editions, one of them will completely, the whole 1 hour of this program will concentrate on forced marriage. This is where we will now give some examples, where we will now say certain things. And if we're talking about all the other traditions we've talked about, for instance, masquerades, we're going to talk more about masquerades and their uses and what they do, because, for instance, masquerades, they have spiritual purposes and entertainment purposes. That's a fact about masquerades in Africa and in all over the world too. So let's look at other things, or as I'm checking my own, because hey, we are all here discussing this.
What about
everybody can
female
genital mutilation?
Yeah, what about that?
Oh, of course. It's one of the things that we must discuss in detail in one edition, a whole hour, or even many editions. Because you want to say something? You want to start?
I'm just asking.
Okay, you're just bringing it up. Yes, okay.
Yeah.
Female genital mutilation is one of those things that need to go in Africa. Please,
it's a harmful practice.
Is there. Please stop it. It's very harmful. It's very harmful to the women. It's not right. It's not good. okay, is kind of dying off because the education is now kind of doing it. But there are some people who are still insisting.
Yeah.
There are some people who are still talking about it. They are trying to get into all that, and those are one of the things. That's one of the things that AfroScope wants to talk about consistently in several editions. It's not just one edition. We'll give them several editions of 1 hour each to talk about why it is not good. For instance, even there's something, we will say certain things here and do it the right way without getting too far into it. The bottom line is that you are even depriving the woman of the beauty of making love. For instance, okay, we are mature enough here to discuss it. Because, and let me tell you, because since Taylor brought it up, let me give you one reason, for instance, why it happened in the past. The reason why it happened in the past was actually machoism of men. Men were selfish. They didn't want their wife, because this I'm giving you history now, why genital mutilation happened in the past. Because the fact is that the clitoris were that they cut off. Women enjoy lovemaking with it. So men figured, no, I don't want my wife to enjoy lovemaking. She has to remain with me for that. You see how selfish it was? You see how selfish the men were in the past? And the reason why, because there's no other good reason for it, really. The history of it. Some people, even you gifted, you sounded like you didn't even know that history. Yeah?
You know, I'm smiling because this topic is so much sensitive and at the same time secretive.
Yeah, it's sensitive, I know. That's why,
And at the same time, the truth of the matter is this, for me, for my own understanding, I don't believe that doing that, the clitoris or something like that, makes a woman to be wayward. Waywardness starts from the inside, from the character, the system. You know what? That's why we talk about culture. When you talk about culture, and every family has a culture. You understand? So this culture needs to be dealt with. So as a family, as a parent, what culture are you giving to your child? You understand? Yeah. Because I don't believe a lady that doesn't have it will not be wayward. It's a lie. It's really a lie. There is a reason, and I understand it. Someone that wants to be wayward will be wayward. You know, like just like what the Bible says, it says, train up a child in the way of the Lord. So when that child shall grow, you have the fear.
Exactly.
You understand? So what you initiated onto a child. Okay, look at it. You are a parent. You are a mother. You are a father. You see your child wearing both shorts coming out of your house. Instead of you two, every dressing has a particular place. There is an indoor dressing and outdoor dressing. So these are the culture you implemented to the child. And when the child grows, those ones are just minor then. But if the child was well cultured, the child will understand that doing this, there is a reason. You must have a reason. A lot of people don't do it without reason.
Yes, exactly.
They do it without reason. They see it as a part of life. Let me enjoy my life. I have heard ladies say it.
Yes.
You understand? So whether that is not an excuse of waywardness.
Exactly.
It is a culture that was implemented to a child. So parents, you have a lot to do about that.
Good. So parents out there, African parents out there, Asma, you want to say something? Something to say?
I said it all.
Okay, yeah, she said it all. No, parents. No, you see, we still get deep into it. You know, the edition where we address it. There is a lot to talk about female genital mutilation. Well, but the last word I leave here with the parents who are still encouraging it, because I saw a story where it happened recently. Please, what do you gain from depriving, if your reason is not to be wayward, and therefore you deprive a little girl of being able to have good life? Okay, I want to be careful the words I use here. Okay, but again, really,
life is bad enough as it is.
Yes, of course,
Life is bad enough as
it is. So what is wrong? What is wrong with a woman enjoying her husband? Why is it that only the husband will be enjoying the lovemaking? Okay, yes, we can use the phrase lovemaking, okay, is decent. So yes, the historic reason why men started genital mutilation of women is with the claim that it made them wayward, and because it made them enjoy sex or making love. Therefore, they will be always wanting. No, if you want to, like Griffith said, if you can control your child and train her well, growing up, not to be wayward, not by disfiguring her. Okay, that's the point. Okay, does anybody have another point you want to bring in? Something that we should discourage or encourage? Let me ask my producer and director, how much more time do we have, please? Let's see. Okay. Let's say, so we have about 3 more minutes, okay, to round up. All right. Let me also start by saying, repeating the fact that some of these things are the reasons why Africa is different. It's not that, and some of the things that we were doing in the past that were wrong were out of ignorance. Just like Europeans or the Western world or other cultures, Asia and the rest of them also had things that they were doing wrongly. And there are still some that they're doing wrongly. For instance, in future, we will talk about those things, make those comparisons. What are some of the things that Africans are doing better than Indians or Europeans or the rest of them? Okay, and we make those comparisons in the future. But in the meantime, as we are talking about us for now to lay the foundation, let's learn to do the right things. Let's understand that the world cannot remain the same way. African culture cannot remain the same that it used to be. Okay, and let's copy. It's good, intercultural interaction is wonderful. We must interact. Americans or Europeans or Indians should be interacting with Africans. But we need to know where to draw the line in terms of what we copy and how we copy them. We don't want to kill our own culture, our own traditions, and copy, because that's the tendency of what is going on in some places in Africa. You see youngsters, copying too much of the Western ways, okay, because it is hip to be, like American. And you see some people, and there's something I always say. You try to copy whatever you copy from the West. You can never be a Westerner. You can never be a European. You can never be an American. You must be an African. And here is what happens sometimes when you try to copy too much. It puts you in the middle. You become a misfit, a cultural misfit. You don't fit into American culture that you are trying to copy to be like American. Hey, man, I'm American. And you don't fit. In the meantime, you have killed your own culture. So you become a misfit. A misfit is somebody who can do anything correctly. You can't be African correctly, and you cannot be an American because it's not you.
Yeah.
That is the point. That's the thing. So perfect your own traditions and do the right thing. Okay. So this is what I'm rounding up with today. As I remind you, please remember that what we just mentioned today is just one of the gazillion topics that we must be discussing in African culture to talk about what is right and what is wrong for Africans to do. And remember this, intercultural interaction must happen. We can't be an island in the world. We must copy certain things. For instance, if you go to the US now, you see white people, even more than blacks, who are wearing African clothing.
Eating our jollof.
Yeah, I saw something in British Parliament where a parliamentarian was posting about how he loved Nigeria jollof, because I think it's Nigeria and Ghana that have specialty in jollof rice.
Yeah.
They have rice too, but they don't cook it the way we cook it. Jollof rice. That is one of those cultural traditions we're talking about. The differences, what makes a white man different from an African, and we have to continue being different until the world ends. We should not cancel being Africans, because you have to balance out what you copy and what we don't copy.
We use China plates. That's good enough. We copy.
Okay, yes, okay, we copy.
We use China, we use
Exactly. We have certain things that are
yes,
copying
we
from
use
this.
fabrics from India, so we copy.
And they also copy us.
They also
because that's the
copy
thing.
us,
And
yes.
and you see, that's part of AfroScope project purpose is we need to encourage the Westerners more to copy us also.
Oh, sure.
As much as
Very,
I copy
very
The
important.
cultures they have to interact
Yes,
respectfully.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
Exactly.
that's cultural coexistence.
And trust me, they do want to copy. That's why AfroScope is good.
Yeah.
Because if you go to our website, for instance, which is afroscope.com, okay, and of course we have AfroScope page, Facebook page and all. If you go there, especially afroscope.com, you see white people saying, wow, I love this. I didn't know that social thing this way. They want to know how we act, how we do certain things, our rituals, cultural rituals. They want to know. These are some of the things that we're going to
And you
discuss.
know, Africa has a whole lot that the Europeans are gaining from us.
Of course.
So we should be proud of ourselves.
That's it.
You understand? That's why we are trying to balance culture and technology. Because technology come from the other side. And our culture shouldn't be abolished or wiped out.
Okay. So your last word, J-Lo.
Like I said, the future belongs to societies that know their culture, are rooted in their culture, are willing to embrace diversity, and then adapt without losing their identity. That's what societies are.
You said it. You said it in a good conclusion. Okay, people, this is where we come to the end of this premiere or maiden edition of our talk show by the AfroScope Project. It is a weekly show, so look out for the subsequent editions, okay? And that's when we will be discussing details of some of the topics that we brought up today and many, many more topics about the African culture or in the African culture and traditions. Okay, and until we come your way with the next edition, please make sure you contribute any which way you can, in any way you can. And look out for what we're doing and share what we're doing. Like what we're doing as normal, okay? Especially if you're African. Do what you can to contribute to this show because it's good for Africa. And until the next edition, thanks for watching. Bye for now.
Make we come together and build Africa. Hey, Mama Africa, I sing for you. Hey, yeah, me renti kuwa rakibu.